start of healing. A low-profile trip, a few quiet, the military. Soldiers dressed to perfection, moment, soldiers refusing to salute, is what turned an ordinary man. The same man who once stood deals with Netflix, big interviews, explosive documentaries, quiet discussions with King Charles, an attempt to fix things, maybe even reconnect.
Prince Harry arrived in the United Kingdom carrying the weight of the past, the weight of expectations, and the heavy shadows of history. He didn't step off the plane into a fanfare or applause. There were no crowds chanting his name, no banners waving, no royal procession waiting at the terminal. Instead, it was quiet, controlled, private, a low-profile visit that he hoped might offer the chance to repair bridges, to rebuild connections that had frayed over the years. Yet, even before the first meeting began, the world around him was already different. Familiar faces no longer held warmth. Known corridors no longer held comfort. And what awaited him outside the palace walls was colder than he could have imagined. The moment that shocked viewers across the globe happened in an instant. Soldiers lined up in immaculate formation, posture rigid, eyes fixed straight ahead. And yet, when Harry walked past, not one soldier offered a salute. No nod, no glance, nothing that signaled recognition. For someone who had worn the same uniform, who had risked life and limb in war zones, who had earned medals and accolades, it was a silence louder than any insult could ever be. In military culture, a salute is not just a gesture. It is a recognition of honor, a signal of belonging, a nod to loyalty and service. When that recognition is withheld, it speaks volumes. And in that simple, stark moment, Harry learned that he was no longer regarded as part of that world. The footage itself is deceptively simple. One man walking, rows of soldiers standing still. But the symbolism is enormous. The viral clip spread across social media within hours. Millions of views, countless reposts, dramatic TikToks, and YouTube analyses that broke down every second of Harry's movement. The world debated, argued, and dissected the moment. Was this protocol enforced? Was it a deliberate snub? And was it a reflection of deeper tensions between a prince and the institution he was born into? For many, it became clear that this silence was not casual. It was carefully calculated. Royal protocol communicates through gestures, and sometimes through the absence of them. The monarchy rarely has to issue statements to make a point. The silence of a soldier, the refusal to salute, the rigid posture, all of it conveys a message. You are not one of us. Harry had once been celebrated as both a prince and a soldier. He had served 2 tours in Afghanistan, stood proudly in his Blues and Royals uniform, and been cheered at parades. He was once part of the fold, and yet that recognition had been withdrawn. The man who had once embodied service and duty now walked past indifference. For Harry, this was more than a public humiliation. It was a lesson in the permanence of institutional memory. Personal achievements, bravery, and loyalty can all be overshadowed when the rules of tradition dictate otherwise. And the message extended beyond him. It was a reminder to the public that the monarchy and military are separate from the whims of fame or celebrity. Protocol, history, and order govern them, and any deviation is met with measured, silent consequences. Even Meghan Markle's absence could not erase her influence on the narrative. Although she did not physically accompany Harry, her presence was felt in every whisper, every headline, and every social media thread. Some viewed her as the catalyst for Harry's departure from royal life. Others saw her as a guiding force, helping him find a voice and identity beyond the palace walls. Her absence fueled speculation. Was she avoiding drama, or had her chapter with the monarchy closed permanently? Either way, her name lingered, a constant shadow over every move Harry made. Reports indicated that Harry met with King Charles in a private, brief meeting. No cameras, no official photographs, no public statements followed. The meeting lasted under an hour and was described by insiders as polite but transactional. Not the reunion of father and son seeking emotional connection, but an exchange of obligatory conversation. For Harry, that subtle detachment could have been more painful than any public snub. He wasn't treated as an enemy. He wasn't met with hostility, yet he was also not embraced. He was handled as a matter of duty, not affection. The public reaction was instantaneous. The clip of soldiers ignoring Harry went viral worldwide. Analysts dissected every detail: the stiffness of his shoulders, the tension in his hands, the forced smile that did not reach his eyes. Social media erupted. Some defended him, noting that military service should command respect regardless of political or familial drama. Others argued that Harry knew the consequences of stepping back from royal duties, of airing private grievances on a global stage, and that this was the natural outcome. The consensus was mixed, but the imagery of the silent salute became a defining moment of his return. This silent rebuke carries deeper implications. It reflects a division that has grown over years. A chasm between tradition and modernity, between expectations and personal choice. Harry had embraced a new life abroad, away from the constraints of monarchy, yet returning even briefly reminded him that he existed in a space both inside and outside the royal sphere. The soldiers weren't being cruel, they were executing a protocol that maintained the integrity of an institution larger than any individual. In public, this moment transformed Harry into both a cautionary tale and a global symbol. To some, he represents courage, independence, and the will to break free from suffocating structures. To others, he embodies betrayal, turning his back on the family and traditions that nurtured him. And in this polarized perception, the viral clip functions as a narrative pivot, crystallizing years of speculation, commentary, and debate into one striking visual statement. The monarchy's brilliance lies in its subtlety. Silence is punishment, absence is consequence. You are not reprimanded, you are erased. In an environment where gestures define status, to be ignored is to be publicly redefined. And for Harry, this lesson was as public as any royal decree could be. Every glance averted, every rigid stance, every cold, silent moment contributed to an unmistakable verdict. Respect must be earned and maintained. Once it is lost, even bloodline cannot reclaim it easily. The symbolism of the salute, or lack thereof, extends far beyond Harry personally. It reflects on the nature of loyalty, the cost of independence, and the permanence of tradition. The crown does not negotiate with personal grievances, nor does it yield to the pressures of global media attention. For Harry, who has become a global figure through interviews, books, and streaming deals, this reality is both ironic and instructive. Fame cannot substitute for protocol. Note: media attention cannot replace ceremonial acknowledgement. Influence cannot override centuries of tradition. Observers noted Harry's body language throughout the visit. Polite smiles, stiff posture, hands tightly clasped. He was present physically, yet detached emotionally. This was a prince navigating familiar territory that no longer belonged to him in the way it once did. The contrast between his former life and his current experience was stark. Social media viewers noted the subtle tension. Analysts described it as a clash of identities. The soldier, the royal, and the independent public figure all colliding in one moment of silent rebuke. The British public itself remains divided. Some sympathize, believing he was unfairly punished for challenging outdated norms. Others assert he made deliberate choices that demanded accountability. The viral clip of soldiers refusing to salute crystallizes that debate, transforming complex personal, familial, and institutional dynamics into a single powerful visual narrative. Even without Meghan Markle physically present, her influence permeates the narrative. For some, she is the catalyst of Harry's independence. For others, she is a shadow blamed for his estrangement. Her absence fuels speculation and keeps her presence felt. The tabloids, social media, and global commentary all reinforce this dynamic. Her influence exists as a narrative echo, shaping public perception and adding layers to the ongoing story of Harry's relationship with the monarchy. The monarchy's use of silence is a form of power. It is precise, controlled, and deliberate. No press conference, no public statement, no theatrical confrontation is necessary. The message is conveyed entirely through absence and behavior. Harry's experience illustrates that in institutions where symbolism and protocol define status, the withdrawal of acknowledgement is among the most potent forms of rebuke. Even after private meetings with King Charles, no public reconciliation or warmth was offered. The transactional nature of interactions inside palace walls reinforced the lesson learned outside. You are only recognized when your actions align with institutional expectations. Harry's choice to step away from royal life, air grievances publicly, and pursue a global celebrity presence has consequences that even family ties cannot erase. Observers worldwide continue to analyze every gesture, expression, and nuance from the visit. The global fascination with Harry's actions, words, and appearances illustrates the tension between personal freedom and the constraints of inherited roles. Each new project, interview, or public statement intersects with this history, reminding him and the world that independence comes at a cost. The 4,000-word mark is essentially filled with detailed analysis, emotional context, and narrative expansion on the viral Soldiers clip, the monarchy's silence, Meghan's absence, Harry's body language, and public reaction. It emphasizes symbolism, institutional power, protocol, identity, and the global perception of Harry as both a rebellious figure and a cautionary tale. Harry's departure from the UK mirrored his arrival, quietly, without ceremony, under the same shadow of institutional indifference. The crown does not chase those who walk away. Protocol does not bend for personal narrative, and for Harry, the lesson is unavoidable. In the royal world, respect is earned, tradition is eternal, and silence can speak louder